Still not good looking at all, but they did close the door in a situation in which they had to last week. So we'll talk about that as well over the course of the afternoon, and most of which available back to you. Michael Pittman Jr., for example, good to go at practice today. We'll go over that list throughout the course of the afternoon because there is a ton to talk about right there. And the whole Jonathan Taylor thing is just kind of working his way, I think, down the path of 4 to 6 weeks anyway. I think everybody got really excited when it was described a mild sprain, a mild high ankle sprain. And I think everybody goes, oh, well, hell, that maybe he's going to be out for 5 minutes. And then when it's longer for 5 minutes, everybody says, well, the Colts are lying about stuff. Maybe it was a mild high ankle sprain, but I guess you have to think about it in terms of when you have a high ankle sprain most of the time, especially at a running back position, how much time you end up missing. And this has kind of been the way that it is. But if I'm the Colts, I would just say, yeah, a sprain, high ankle sprain, that's problematic. You use the word mild, and I think everybody all of a sudden thinks you expect him back sooner rather than later. And once again, that just has not been the case. And he is a guy, as much as I like him, he is a guy, as much as he is meaningful to this team, he is a guy that when you look at it in terms of player personnel is at the top of the list of most crucial. He's a guy that has a great deal of tread and wear and tear off those tires. The way that it is, you got most of that at Wisconsin. Even if you have missed a number of games here in recent history, you go all the way back, and that is a lot of wear and tear right there. So, yes, Jonathan Taylor out, Anthony Richardson in. Expectations for that coming up with the Gorman, who's going to join us, a part of the Colts pregame huddle. He's going to join us in the next 5 or so minutes. It is not lost on this show either that this is the final regular season night of the high school football campaign, and there is a lot of stuff on the line. For example, Martinsville, Plainfield, that's a one-loss Quaker team and an unbeaten Martinsville team. Martinsville looking to stir the echoes. You fans remember Earl Hannaford. Most, I think, football fans in this state remember Israel Thompson, Bob Denton, who played the tackle position while at Michigan State. Everybody remembers that particular group, stirring the echoes of that down in the world of Artie's, and they get that matchup with Plainfield later on tonight. That and more we'll talk to with Bob Lovell coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Our normal conversation brought to you by Express Pro Tire and Auto. Bob Lovell with that final regular season Friday night in high school football coming at you later on tonight as well. Again, Bob's got you covered. Indiana Sports Talk tonight, tomorrow night as well. Daryl Moose Johnston's going to join us. That is happening in, what did I say, 4:30, I believe, for Moose
5:30
today? 5:30, James. Thanks for stepping in, because you're going to have to, pronounce 9,000 times this dude's name that joins us at 4:30 today. 5:30, Daryl Moose Johnston, you remember him, obviously, with the glory years of the Dallas Cowboys in the early 90s. He has been with Fox He has been with Fox for a number of years now, and he's got the broadcast along with Kevin Kugler coming up on Sunday. And Moose will join us on the show at 5:30 today. The voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, because they have a big one coming up tomorrow. It's funny, and I saw this. I never can really tell because Barstool has a million tentacles, and I don't really know if it's in actual or if it's not in this case. But apparently some of the Barstool people are down there, and they were looking for a place, where should we go and eat? What's a great place down here? And Bloomington is blessed, even with the closing of some of the former great places that have been independently owned and operated down in Monroe County, even with the closing of some, like the Irish Lion, for example, and going way back, McCree's Deli, and what am I thinking of? Cafe Pizzeria as well here most recently. Even with that, you're still not going to find the level of independently non-chain run locations to eat, drink, and be merry in Bloomington. You're just not going to find that anywhere else. And I saw somebody mention, and I don't know if this was official Barstool knuckleheadery or if this was just kind of seeping in from the outside Barstool knuckleheadery, but the quote was, all they have down here are chain locations, which is just incredibly stupid. Just beyond incredibly stupid right there. Nah, it has still got absolutely everything that you're looking for down there, and it's going to be not only fantastic tonight, fantastic tomorrow. Our friend J-Law told us that $300 a pop for parking passes down there that normally run like $20 to $30. $300 people are getting for those. Most excited we have seen people down there in a long time about this football program and a specific game day. The Fox Big Noon game day crew, I don't know who they're all about, but they're going to be down there as well. I think Mellencamp's going to be on that show with them coming up tomorrow. That is a big damn deal with Nebraska and IU. The voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, will join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour per usual, and we shall talk about that. I also mentioned a lot more coming up here today as far as that is concerned. Yes, I know Boilermakers in Oregon coming up later on tonight. We'll get you right with that one, too. I know Boilermakers aren't really thrilled to talk about exactly what's going on in their world, but we absolutely will do that coming up a little bit later on, too. And what is this right here? Marcel Louis Jacques. Did I get that right, James? The guy at 4:30 here?
You were actually pretty close. It's Marcel Louis Jacques, yes.
Marcel Louis Jacques.
Yep, that's about it.
That's who joining us. Bills deserve a lot more respect. Marcel Louis Jacques on the Dolphins. Right on?
Yep.
All right. As long as I can keep that thing between the lines right there with Marcel Louis. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming out. As always, thank you very much. Marcel Louis Jacques will join us coming up at 4:30 today. Otherwise, we have tickets to give away. I think this place has tickets to give away as well at the back nine off of Drover and Morris. So we are loaded up to ready to go. I may go ahead and try to sneak somebody in regarding the Pacers last night. So I'm watching the game, and I know Gorman's going to join us in a second. Let me go ahead and get this started before Gorman joins us and talks a little bit more about the Colts matchup with the Dolphins on Sunday. I tell you what, then hold off just for a second. I'm going to get to my Pacers take to start the season coming up in just a minute. So Hoops fans, stand by for that. But on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, friend of the show, Colts pregame huddle, touchdown town coming up on Sunday morning, 10 a.m. It's the Gorman who joins us now. And turn down the radio in the background and turn up your television, as the great Mark Patrick used to say back in the day. What's up?
How you doing, brother? I'm sorry about that, but we had to get a little clean up after practice today, get the ears lowered a little bit, and just leaving that appointment and headed back to start this weekend.
Wait a minute.
I mean, it's tough to get into my guys, so I had to go over there about 2:30 today.
Well, where do you go get your hair cut? Who cuts your hair, Gorman?
Way out in Fisher, Stefan up here at Radiate 60. He's the man up here. And John, I'm just going to say he does all the big clientele, myself included, here in Indianapolis. So, but yeah, he's located up in Fisher.
Oh, okay. So I was going to send you. I was going to send you to Debbie. I've got Debbie at Great Clips down in Bargersville that does mine. What are you thinking, Debbie?
Not
Great
bad,
Clips?
bro.
Come on now.
But that's $13 for the cut, a little $7 tip, and you're off and running. I mean, I love it.
You know what I am? I'm a $10 tipper for Debbie. I am. Debbie gives me one hell of a Shawshank. Yes.
Yes, she does. You ain't shy of getting a buzz cut. How's everything going? Last I checked, you're willing to wait to nothing. I heard earlier, of course, I checked your updates online. You had a walnut this morning, a raisin, and a spear of asparagus. Is that right? On the new diet? What's
up, Billy? I had 4 bites of yogurt and a nutrition bar today. That's what I've had. 4 bites of yogurt and a nutrition bar.
But I'll say this. If you were a runway model in Europe, I'd understand. But you're kind of like the spokesman and floor model for, the tractor supply company. So I don't know what we're doing here. I think I'd like to see you get a sandwich or 2 in your diet, but you're looking good, kid. I just need the energy up on Sunday.
And I'll have it for you. Here's what I'm looking for. Longevity. All right, longevity. It is all about having fun. I don't want to do anything where there is no fun being had. And honestly, passing out for 3 hours in the front seat of my truck because my blood pressure was too high, it was becoming not so fun. So I addressed that. And by the way, all you did was piss and moan at me over that point in time, too. You didn't think it was funny whatsoever. You go, hey, you got to do something about this. So I did something about it. So is your advice. You're the guy that started it.
I love it. I just said, John, let's not be afraid to go visit our medical professionals, and let's not be afraid to push away from the queso dip with a half a bag of nachos. So I'm glad you did that. We want you around a long time, though, Johnny. You know that.
We are about the fun. I'm not going anywhere where it's not fun. So, and luckily for us.
Yeah, and I too many pictures of you playing basketball with that jog bra on, and I was done with it. I said, John, it's time for you to do something right now. So come on.
I am fired up and ready to go. Once I get down to 180, which was what I was in high school. Actually, I think I was that in my junior year in high school, which was my favorite year in high school. So
attaboy.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going.
Get those same parachute pants on with those high tops that are unlaced, and with the tongue out. You're back in high school, bro, pretty quick.
Let me tell you this, Gorman. I still have my red Bugle Boy jeans. I'm going to fit into those here relatively soon.
Oh God, I hope not, John. For God's sake.
My red. I'm going to wear my red Bugle Boy jeans to a live show in Touchdown Town just for you guys.
God, 1998. We're celebrating it all over.
98. Hell no, that's like 1987 right there. 86.
I hope so. Hey, you always look like a clown to me, whatever you wear. So I'm looking forward to it.
So Gorman, Touchdown Town with us on the Colts pregame huddle at 10 a.m. coming up on Sunday. All right, lowdown. No Jonathan Taylor. Anthony Richardson's going to start. Some of those other premium positions very important in that matchup with the Dolphins. What are you thinking about at least those that are going to be good to go Sunday?
Hey, health is sort of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, sortedly coming back. Sort of, is that what's plural of sort of? I don't know, but we're almost there, John. But DeForest Buckner, he's starting that window where he's going to be back, and we're going to keep an eye on the Texans game. We're going to keep an eye on, obviously, the Minnesota game, seeing what he's like. Jonathan Taylor won't go this week. But everyone else is looking like it's pretty much all hands on deck, which is great because something is fishy, John. Can I just give this to you and your listeners? Something's fishy, and I want to explain something.
Something's fishy. Okay.
And I don't mean that with the Dolphins. Believe me, I sort of do, though. But something's fishy when Las Vegas talks. And Vegas has us at a 2.5, 3-point favorite. But, John, you're getting 3 points for being the home team in Vegas. Don't forget that. You automatically get that advantage. So, basically, Vegas is calling this is a coin toss, a coin flip. It's a 50-50 shot. And I don't know what they're seeing. I hope that Anthony Richardson obviously can finish this ball game and get this Colts offense humming. But I really do think that we've got if he's playing with Shane Steichen, I mean, he's got the experience under his belt from this year's starts, and we saw the minimal that he had last year. I'm sorry, John. I see this as a 2-score win for our Colts. A pretty good defense back there. They're going to be tough to throw the ball on. I think they're 14th overall defensively just through the pass, but I just don't see it. I see Anthony Richardson coming around. I see receivers and him clicking. And the effect that he gives, John, if we can get 60, 55 to 70 yards out of him with his legs, that's just an angle that we don't get with Flacco or a Gardner Minshew in this offense. And that's where I think Anthony Richardson puts us at an extreme advantage is what he can do this week against this rushing defense, but with his legs. And you know what he is? I'm not going to tell you anything you're not going to see. He's going to find his spots. There's going to be some RPOs. He's going to throw about 10 balls to Josh Downs. He's going to take a strike down the field with Alec Pierce. And Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be that guy that's getting you some first downs here and there. So I think they're going to spread the ball around offensively through the air. They have to. It's a pretty good rushing defense in Miami. I think they can the Trey Sermon, Tyler Goodson combination, they're going to give a look at it. But I just think Anthony Richardson is the X factor, which I sound like a broken record because, like I said, John, if he gets 50 to 70 yards alone with his legs, it changes the landscape of the game. It changes field position, something fierce. And that's why I just think I like us. I like us a lot this week because we got a buzzsaw coming up on the road in Texas the week after that. And don't forget my guy Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings away 2 weeks from Sunday. So the buzzsaw is, you're going 1-2 in these first 2 games on the road, and then all of a sudden you got this home win here against a team that's down, missing a quarterback. Tyler Huntley's going to be able to move the ball with his legs as well for the Dolphins. But my point is this, take care of business, guys. This is not served on a platter for us, but the next 2 weeks after that, if you want to stay in this AFC South race, you got to get at least 2 of these next 3, if not all 3 of them, John. And, like I said, they're going to be tougher than Miami, and we're hosting them this Sunday. So I'm just saying I don't want to call it the Bill Brooks must win, but I'm telling you what, we're pretty close. We're pretty close to stay in this thing.
Hey, let's not fool ourselves here. Much like last week was, and really they whiffed on that game in Jacksonville, because you mentioned what's up next, and you also talk about the Lions and the Jets and the Bills being a part of that coming up in November. You can't jack around and lose a game like this at home, and that's why when people kind of giggle and laugh about me talking too much about must wins, there are certain moments in a season, no matter where you are in the season, where you have to take care of business. And this is one of those moments on Sunday, no matter what anybody says with their nerdy ass math.
I'm with you, bro. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm finally on the same side of you. If you want to stay relevant and you want to stay in this race, these are the layups that you got to take care of. A team that's very talented offensively, and let's not forget about Waddle and Tyreek Hill on the outside. They're going to try to exploit us. They will be a problem. They will gain yardage after the catch. They will put the ball in a Chain's hands. The guy who's healthy after the concussion, who's another speed merchant between those 3. And it's scary. It's a scary thought. But without the starting quarterback and Tua Tagovailoa down there, Tyler Huntley, a journeyman. We saw him in Baltimore. He was Lamar Jackson's backup. So he's that style of quarterback. John, you can't screw around here, boys. You got to get this one. This is giving you – it's not on a silver platter, but if you're taking on a team that's mediocre right now without the quarterback play that they are originally expected to have, it's do or die. It's a must-win in my eyes for this team with what we're looking at to stay in this stinking race and find ourselves in the playoffs come, the first week of January. So I'm sorry. I'm going to be barking this on Sunday morning with you. This is one of the must-wins that we must have in order to stay not only relevant, but to stay in this mix and not have people rolling our eyes at us after a while, say, hey, the Colts had an opportunity at home against the starting quarterback-less Miami Dolphins, and they couldn't get it done. We don't need Jacksonville 2.0 this week, John. You know what I mean? You got to take care of the teams that you're looking at. Jacksonville, we let that get away. Don't let this Dolphins game get away. And the place is going to be packed. Don't forget Dallas Clark will be the Ring of Honor inductee at halftime, John, and he's going to visit us, by the way, at the pregame set live at about 10:15 down in Touchdown Town, if any fans are down there and want to say hi to Dallas.
Hey, was Dallas Clark involved when Peyton Manning and those guys used to play pranks on you at Rose-Hulman during training camp? Was Clark one of them?
No, Dallas is just too nice of a guy. He's just a sweetheart of a guy. Looks like he's kind of that guy on the side of the road that sells vegetables, and you just like to go see him after work. And, you know what I mean? And just, hey, buddy, good to see you. How are you? So great. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Is that guy? But yeah, I love the young man, and I'm glad that he's finally getting his due because that decade of excellence, he was part of it. Manning throwing it all over the stadium. We don't do that without a tight end like Dallas Clark, John.
That's awesome, man. That is absolutely awesome. It sells vegetables.
Where are you at today? Where are you at?
I'm at the back nine. Why are you not here? This is one of your hangouts.
I know. I'm probably 45 minutes from there right now, but you are at the back nine. Attaboy. Okay, you're getting out there. I love that. I haven't told you guys, I love back nine. I compare them to Top Golf. I've been to both of those places, and I like back nine a hell of a lot better than Top Golf. So, hey, hats off to you, back nine. We love you over there.
You got that right. Your man and I, Joe Wrights, is going to be back coming up on Sunday. Bill Brooks will be there. Casey Valier. That will be the Colts pregame huddle. Starts at 10 a.m. in Touchdown Town. My brother, can't wait to see you. We'll have some fun coming up on Sunday, okay?
I got a little surprise for you on Sunday. I'm going to bring one fresh roasted Brussels sprout for you, and we're going to let you eat that before you go on the air, okay?
All right, man. That'll be my nutrition for the day right then.
There you go. All right, don't forget, John, stay off the hard stuff. I'll see you.
You got it, buddy. The Gorman right there, the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So we've got tickets to give away for the Dolphins-Colts game here on a Bud Light Blue Friday. Thank you guys for joining us here at the Back Nine. Drover and Morris is the location. Third floor bar is where we are. The third floor has the picturesque view out over downtown Indy. So we would love to see you here. I think they're going to raffle off or give away some tickets here as well. Man, the door is open right here, which is even better. Quick break. We shall return. Bob Lovell's got you set for the final Friday night during the regular season of high school football. Bob joins us next. We've got a lot more for you, including Daryl Moose Johnston of Fox in the 5 o'clock hour, Don Fisher, Dustin DePurak, my Pacer take last night that a lot of you responded to. That and more coming up. Back Nine, Bud Light Blue Friday, the stream, the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a member today. That is a AAA Hoosier Motor Club member. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Look at all those ding-dongs.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Bud Light Blue Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Back 9 off of Drover and Morris. Our friends from Zinc are here. The ice-cold Bud Light, as you can see, flowing. Come and join us, too. Third level bar location. Picturesque downtown is our sight lines right now. Downtown Indy. It is awesome. You can join us. We'd love to have you in preparation for whatever the hell you're doing, wherever the hell that you're going. Make sure this is a stop for you. On a Bud Light Blue Friday at the back 9, I mean, hell, maybe we'll even hit some golf balls while we're at it. What do you think? Meantime, Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline, brought to you by Express Pro Tire and Auto, 13 Central Indiana. Joe Childers run locations every Friday right here at 3:30 from Indiana Sports Talk. Bob Lovell's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. Good afternoon, Bob.
Hey, John, how are you today?
What is happening in the world of Bob Lovell in preparation for the final regular season Friday night on the football calendar? What do you got going?
Well, I'll tell you what, John, as hard as it is to believe, it's the last weekend of the regular season. Everybody knows who they're playing. You know, the pairing show was last weekend, and so it's an important weekend, an important night for a lot of different teams for a lot of reasons. I think, you know, number one, you've got a few left undefeated trying to run the table.
Yeah.
Brownsburg, obviously, here in central Indiana, Crown Point up north. So trying to wrap it up. They're ending many teams playing for conference championships tonight. And I think if you're one of those teams that's not undefeated, not playing for a conference championship, you want momentum. And tonight is the last night you're playing before you start the tournament. So clearly, this is one of those, like the trifecta. You're trying to win, trying to run the table, trying to win a conference, and trying to get some momentum going into the tournament. And I think the biggest thing, too, is do all that, be successful, and try to remain as injury-free as you possibly can.
It's Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talk, the Friday high school football breakdown courtesy of Express Pro Tire and Auto. That's expresspro.com for the location nearest you today. I'm going to go ahead and start with your alma mater, which I'm going to say in like 19 syllables. Alma mater right there. Plainfield, one loss. Martinsville, unbeaten. It has been a magical type of season down in Morgan County for Martinsville. There's no doubt about that. So, let's start. I believe that's a mid-state, all alone, top of the conference winning season opportunity for Martinsville, and a share of with a win by the Quakers tonight. Is that the situation, as I gather?
That's it. You sound like you are right there. You know yourself.
Yeah, well, I've been told. I don't know if this is for certain. I've been told maybe everybody gets free ice cream at the Ryan Wolf Run Dairy Queen in Martinsville if some magic occurs this evening in Morgan County. I'm just saying. I don't know that to be sure. Yeah. Don't take my word for it. But it doesn't hurt to ask. Doesn't hurt to ask.
No, not at all. You know what? They're good stories. I mean, both of these stories are really good. I mean, Brian Duggar's guys started out, have played well all year long, obviously. And, my Quakers lost some guys off last year's team. They're just – it's one of those deals where they both play competitive schedules. The conference is strong, maybe as strong as it's been. They're on a run conference-wise for quite a while. And, again, there's a lot going on here. And these are two teams that have been able to defend well to this point. Plainfield handled Whiteland pretty easily last week. And so, I think it's as you ought to have it, John, playing for a conference championship. They're your two best teams. They have been all year long, and they're very similar in how they play. They're great defensively. They have some explosive people on the offensive side. So it's a great way to start tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I believe our high school football game of the week, and James, you can correct me if I'm wrong, unbeaten at 8-0 Brownsburg on the road at Hamilton Southeastern, coming at you at 7 o'clock tonight right here on The Fan, brought to you by Express Pro Tire and Auto. A couple of unbeaten, certainly, that we have hard targeted so far this season in 6A. Brownsburg being one, Lawrence North in just fantastic offensive fashion. The other, both 8-0, both in action coming up later on tonight.
Well, Lawrence North has had a great run, as you pointed out. I mean, I think Pat Mallory's group has not surprised people, but I think they've validated what they believed coming in, that they had as good a team as anybody in the city or in the county, and they have backed it up. It's amazing what they've been able to do. 6A, John, as we've talked about all year long, really, really strong. I mean, Westfield, after playing in the championship a year ago, comes back with a brand new coach. Cathedral, Warren Central started out shutting out everybody offensively. Center Grove plays an outstanding schedule and still playing at a very, very high level. And then you just keep going. Franklin Central is starting to really put some things together. They're playing great. Hamilton Southeastern stumbled for a couple of weeks. Now they're back playing well. So they're all, I think, trending in the right direction, which means this will be a great night tonight.
Yeah, Cathedral at Warren Central, 5-2, 7-1, also on the 6A schedule. And let's not forget, 7-1 Westfield and 5-2. Man, they're doing a great job, I think, at FC. That is a tough-ass conference to play anything in. And to be 5-2, that's a job well done. And this is one that's going to be incredibly tough for them coming up tonight. But still, awesome job so far by the Flashes.
Flashes, you look at it. I mean, they lost to Zionsville, and then they lost to Brownsburg and then Zionsville back-to-back, haven't lost since then. And that early in the season to be able to put that and turn it around against the schedule they play is a tremendous accomplishment for them.
It is. Bob Lovell's got you on Indiana Sports Talk coming up later on tonight. New Pal and Delta, that's 7-0 and 4-4 in 4A coming at you later on this evening, too.
New Pal, John, is a machine. I'm not sure, quite frankly, who can beat them. They're tremendous, and this is something they've done for quite a while. The way they play right now, I mean, defensively, they've been one of the better teams in the state without question. And so, Delta, I think has a tall task ahead of them tonight. I really do.
You got to keep an eyeball out down in Vanderburgh County. 6-2 Evansville Rights at 7-1 Modern Day. What do you think?
Well, you know what? That is an. It doesn't matter what the records are when those two teams play. It is unbelievable. I mean, it really, really, really is. And so, all you have to do is just say that you got those two playing. Modern Day and Rights. Modern Day is 7-1. They're ranked number 6. Rights has only lost twice. That and the other big game down there that everybody's fired up about is Memorial and Castle.
Yep.
Evansville Memorial.
8-0 and 7-1. Yep.
So it is a great night of football down in the Pocket City, and they're just some tremendous games. And I love the Ole Miss and Madison Grant game tonight. Both teams undefeated. That may be as good a game as there is in the entire state, to be honest, John.
Oh, you're 8-0 and 8-0. Mississippi at 8-0 at Madison Grant tonight.
You're calling Ole Miss like everybody else does.
Bob's got you covered tonight on Indiana Sports Talk tonight, tomorrow night with all your college football conversation. Don't forget Purdue and Oregon in West Lafayette at Ross-Ade later on tonight as well. Bob, it's always a pleasure. Thank you, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, John. Have a great weekend yourself.
Bob Lovell, brought to you by Express Pro Tire and Auto. 13 Central Indiana locations to serve. Dustin DePurak, top of the hour. My thoughts on the Pacers coming up, too. I'm telling you what, there's going to be no more the little engine that could crap here. Because I am all in as all in can be with this team. Absolutely love this team. Love the way that it is built. Love who put it together. The last thing I want to do is piss and moan about this. So don't give me an opportunity to piss and moan about it. I'll explain coming up. Dustin DePurak joins us top of the hour. Back 9, Bud Light Blue Friday. Stay right there with your Dolphins, Colts tickets opportunities coming up as well. Actually, if you're not going to stay right there, hustle ass over here and join us. Third level inside the bar at Back 9. Grover, Morris, location, south side of downtown. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. You know what? This is, for me, one of the worst songs of the 1980s. JMV Takeover. Tomorrow night, B105.7 about the 80s. And listen, I know James back at the studio had a really good heart to want to play this, but my God, I hate Walk of Life by Dire Straits. Anybody else old enough to dislike Dire Straits and Walk of Life like I do? I just have never liked it. I like Mark Knopfler. Billy, what do you think, man? Walk of Life? Huh? Yeah, it just never really moved me that much. I don't know, maybe we still had the hangover at the time from Money for Nothing. And you know, the video, I think, had a bunch of sports highlights in it, if memory serves right there. James, though, the topic is the JMV Takeover coming up tomorrow night on B105.7. And we have that for you. Our local UAW 685, man. Thank you for the T-shirt right there. That is awesome for bringing that out. Carlos is running things at the back nine here on a Bud Light Blue Friday with Colts Dolphins tickets to give away. Carlos, you've got stuff to give away yourselves around here, don't you?
We do.
You brought over a box.
Oh, yeah, a box that has a bunch of names in there, man. A
bunch of names in that box. So what is this box all about here? Tell us.
This box is actually given to us by Zinc. They represent everything we do.
We love Zinc.
Bud Light and everything.
You guys love us as much as we love you? Oh, yes. Golly. We've got a love affair right here.
No, we love them. They do a lot for us, so we appreciate them.
Classic love affair is what we got going on right here. So what's going on with the box?
So I'm about to raffle out a name real quick. I'm going to say the name, and I'm going to get about the information. They'll get a text from our guy with the tickets.
Somebody's winning some tickets.
Oh, yeah, for this game.
All right.
Sunday,
and before you do that, Carlos, are you also raffling off something else here?
No, I mean, this is all I got.
I thought
for
you guys
right
were doing something on back nine for something else as well. Was I wrong about that?
No, I mean, this is it.
This is it? Gotcha.
This is it.
All right. Carlos, go ahead, pull that name. We'll announce that name. By the way, this doesn't have anything to do with what we're going to give away here. We're still giving away Dolphins Colts tickets here. This is just in-house, in the box with our good friend Carlos right here. Who is going to announce the winner of the tickets with your information. You're going to hear him mixing that up right now to make sure everything is incredibly fair because we don't have it on the AAA membership lounge camera right now. Carlos is off camera. But believe me, look at hey, Dev, look at my hair right there. See the breeze going? Seriously, right there. That's nice, isn't it? Anyway, I'm sorry, Carlos. I was distracted by my,
checking out the hair.
my
It looks
glorious
great.
hair blowing into breeze right there. So, Carlos, who's the winner?
All right, so our winner is Leslie Allen. Lucky winner. I will be receiving a text from us here in about a couple hours.
Leslie Allen. Yep. All right. And by the way, back nine, going strong.
Yes,
per
sir.
usual. You guys got some stuff happening tonight. What's coming up, too, by the way?
Oh, we got the Bourbon and Birdies coming up next weekend.
Yes, sir.
On Saturday. That's going to be cool. A bunch of bourbon here.
What do you got going on this weekend?
This weekend, nothing too
just
crazy.
Golf?
Just golfing. A lot of golfing with the PXG clubs out here doing our thing, you know. We have the trunk or treat next Friday for the kids,
nice.
And we have an adult trunk or treat starting at 7. A lot of vendors will be giving out samples and stuff, so that'll be fun. But you know, especially for the kids early on in the day, 4 to 7.
Yeah,
so that'll be fun.
And we want to remind people how incredible of a place this is to go, especially at night.
Oh God,
because you and everybody can come in here and just have a blast. Right
Family
here.
friendly. We do everything. All 3 floors are open on the weekends, you know, music blasting, good food, good drinks, and everything going.
Man, I'm going to tell you, I brought my girls basketball team, 8th grade girls basketball team from Center Grove here last December. It was after the Colts-Pittsburgh game here, and we had an absolute blast.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed yourself.
Absolute blast right there. So just so you know, and somebody had said, hey, I'm going to get there, but the interstates are jacked up. Here's what I would do. I would go, they call it surface roads. I'm not nerdy enough to know. What's Matt Bear? James, what's Matt Bear across the hall at IBC call the streets? Streets or surface roads? Are they surface?
Do
we know?
I have no idea.
I don't want to
honestly.
say it wrong because Matt Bear at WIBC, they go, well, they do traffic how many times an hour? You would know that because you used to be a part of WIBC in the day.
It's traffic on the 5, so it's like at
on the
05, 15, 30, 45.
Don't you think that's a little damn too much traffic right there? Traffic on the 5s? That's a lot.
They're killing us with this.
That's a lot of traffic. No, but seriously, Matt Bear is the guru of that. And I'm assuming surface streets is how you describe it. So, yeah, I'm looking out there right now. Eastbound I-70 does look a little bit jacked up from my vantage point. but there are plenty of ways to get here. That's what makes this place so special.
Yeah.
You don't have to utilize the interstate to haul ass and get here, do you, Carlos?
No, you don't. No, you don't. And you get a beautiful view downtown as well.
No,
you know what I
there's
mean?
it's awesome.
Great. It's
and
great.
when it's at night, holy
the
crap,
lights light
at
up.
night.
You should see us on 4th of July. It was great.
Hey, what are your hours?
I'm here Monday through Friday right now, occasionally every Saturday.
Yep. What are your hours for the place?
The place, during the week, it's 12 to 9 is the last seating. 10 o'clock is when we close. On the weekends, it's 12 to 12.
12 to 12. Carlos right there.
Yes,
and
sir.
Leslie
Thank you,
is the
Jay.
winner of the raffle.
Yes, Leslie will be the winner. She will be receiving a text from us with
Awesome.
their tickets and everything.
Thank you, Carlos.
No, thank you, Jay.
Carlos
Appreciate
having
it.
us here, man. You can check out Carlos here at the Back Nine. He is an awesome dude. And thanks again to our friends at Zinc for doing that. We've got more tickets to give away right here as well. Thanks, Carlos, on a Bud Light Blue Friday. Third level in the bar is where you can find us. I mean, hell, hang out with us, have some great food, maybe go out there and swing a couple of sticks at it. See what happens, whether you're going maybe to a high school football game. Hell, maybe you're heading up to Purdue. Now, go ahead and chill out here for a minute. Don't get all pissy about the interstate because there's not a damn thing you can do about that. You got to chill. You've got to chill. Take these surface streets and then get yourself here that way. But no, seriously, this is a great spot on a Friday on what is a mid-October day, which is absolutely fantastic here in Central Indiana. So join us. All right, on the other side, Dustin DePurak is going to talk a little bit about the Pacers as we embark on the 2024-2025 regular season beginning next week. I mentioned this, kind of a tease going to the break. People thought I was a little bit too hard on the Pacers last night because it was a preseason game. My expectations of this group, they're hung pretty high. And I'm just here to tell you, these guys as competitors would tell you that. You heard Rick Carlisle after the game say his quote was in the vicinity of, our starters aren't tied together right now. There is a lot riding in terms of expectations with this group. And believe me, I am driving this bus. We may have a bus load of nerd fans in the back. But I am driving this bus right now. I love what they're doing, building from within, building through the draft, through trades, with their own, not going out and seizing opportunities to bring others in, just being able to win in the now and then win in the future with that growth. And I just thought last night especially, and really in what has been with the starting group, a discombobulated preseason, sorry, when you step on the floor, I do expect a little bit more. I don't care if it was a damn preseason game. I don't care if it was a practice. I don't care if it was a jack-around session. Doesn't matter to me. I'm going to, especially this year, expect a little bit more. And you didn't get that from the starters. They got worked in the third quarter by the backups of the Hornets last night. Sorry, that's problematic. I'm not suggesting they're not going to have a not-so-subtle change to start the regular season. But that was my thoughts on that. We'll get into that. Dustin DePurak of the Star covers the Pacers on the other side as well. And Marcel Louis Marquis, Jaquez. What is his name again? Marcel Louis Jacques. Did I get that right the second time around, James?
I think that was
accurate.
closer.
I don't know what the hell I called him the first time. He joins us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Daryl Moose Johnston from Fox. That's a little bit easier to say. And Don Fisher in the 5 o'clock hour. Back 9, Bud Light Blue Friday, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
But I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Good re-entry right there on a Bud Light Blue Friday. You can find us inside the AAA Membership Lounge. That's YouTube Live, AAA Hoosier Motor Club. Become a member today. They always get your back wherever you're going. Hashtag JMV Takeover tomorrow. That's on the social media platform X. It is an all-80s weekend on B105.7. We'll play a lot of 80s coming up for you tomorrow night, 6 until midnight. Cannot wait for that. Then on Sunday morning, I'll be live at the Bullseye Event Center with the Ride to Kickoff beginning at 9 a.m. That's an hour before the doors open at the Bullseye Event Center. Speaking of which, James, you know what that has done? That has sparked a little interest in me giving something away. You want to do a couple of passes to the Bullseye Event Center?
Yeah, let's
coming
do
up
it.
on Sunday, right?
Let's do
all
it.
you can eat, all you can drink. Celebrity chef Kelsey Murphy going to be in the house, too, with Nameless Catering. At number 9 at 239-1070. On us, you can go. Because we're all friends here. Because you're listening, you're a part of it. That's what we want. Number 9 at 239-1070 is that number. Marcel Louis Jacques going to talk a little NFL, bottom of the hour. So sit tight for that. Daryl Moose Johnston of Fox after 5. Don Fisher is going to be locked up in that 5 o'clock hour as well. But on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, covers the Pacers for the Indianapolis Star, Dustin DePurak. He does join us. Good afternoon, Dustin. How are you?
Good afternoon. Doing well. How about yourself?
Fantastic. I'm wondering, I was trying to translate. I opened up my translation book, my Rick Carlisle to Average Fan Media Dude translation book last night. When he suggests his starters aren't tied together, does that mean don't take a beating by the backups of the Hornets in the third quarter like you did in embarrassing fashion earlier in the night? Did he mean that?
I mean, yeah, he was not happy at all about how they functioned, basically, and I think he's not been totally thrilled with the second unit, but just did not like what the first unit did. I mean, they came on pretty strong in the first quarter. I think they were +7 in that, but the second quarter was a mess. I think they put them out for the third quarter because the second quarter was as bad as it was, and the third quarter wasn't a whole lot better. But I think the starters in the first you've got, I think Siakam, Turner, and Halliburton were all +6. In the second, I think they were -15. I'll make sure I'm right about that. Yeah, -15, Halliburton, Nembhard, Siakam, and Turner. I think third, they were probably closer to actually, I mean, they weren't good there. I think they were -3 across the board. So whoever they were playing, whether it was first unit guys or second unit guys for the Hornets, again, are coming off a pretty bad year. They weren't particularly good. I mean, they didn't really defend with a lot of presence. Rotations weren't great. I think they gave up a bunch of open threes. Offensively, they didn't shoot it particularly well. They didn't finish the stuff that they got in the paint. Didn't have a lot of turnovers, but just didn't look really well tied together on either offense or defense. And when it's defense the issue, that's usually the case for these guys. They haven't necessarily been great on that end, and it's concerning. But when you're not really guarding anybody and you're not really scoring either, then it's like, okay, what's going on with these guys? So I think that he was legitimately, I think, concerned about that, bothered about that. Obviously, he volunteered that on his own, saying, we're a long way. His quote was basically, we're a long way from where we need to be. So he's bothered by just what happened, regardless, whenever those guys were out on the floor, it just didn't look as crisp as it needs to when you're, less than a week away from the opener.
So what do you think the reason behind that is? Because it's just so early. I mean, one of the big reasons why everybody like me got so excited that they were going to, quote, run this back with this group is because of, that cohesion, that relatability, right? And then all of a sudden it doesn't look that way. And it's still the preseason, or was the preseason. I get that. But here's the one thing, Dustin, that I can't get past. After Detroit, the next 7, that's as tough as anybody's opening 8 games on their schedule this year. And I say don't be jacking around for a reason, because you don't want to get off to a bad start. And I thought last night could be representative of getting off to a bad start here after Detroit if you're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, if you play like that, after Detroit, it's New York, Philly, Orlando, Boston, New Orleans, Dallas, Orlando. I mean, those are everybody's a postseason team there, and really you're 4 in a row. New York, Philly, Orlando, Boston are two teams that you're looking at and saying, oh, that those could be top 5 teams in the East. They don't have time to mess around. They don't have time to get out there. I mean, they could easily find themselves 1-4 going to New Orleans if things don't go right. Without even playing poorly. So if they do play poorly, they can get smashed in those games, and that can put them out to a rough start. And obviously, as we saw last year. The difference between 2nd seed and 8th seed in the East was 4 games. So, it doesn't take a lot to get you sidetracked. And so, they don't have a lot of time to get right. Again, to your point, it is preseason, and I think it is possible to switch gears pretty fast and get yourself back to normal. But, there's a lot of not great signs. I don't think it means that they don't have cohesion. They've spent a lot of time together in the offseason, but it just seems like they just haven't been able to, kick things in gear. And they might be able to do it once they're facing somebody who matters, but you might maybe have the same issue that you've had in the past that I don't think they can afford to have anymore, which is, when games don't matter, they kind of, cruise, basically. I mean, they obviously took a bunch of losses last season because of teams that they apparently didn't take seriously enough. The Wizards, the Spurs, the Blazers, the Hornets left a lot of wins on the table against teams they should have been able to beat because they just didn't seem completely locked in. And I think, again, a lot of it's, late camp malaise. I think there's something to do with that, and just kind of working yourself into it and having played some games where they didn't necessarily play starters, or there were some starters they don't play. I mean, there's only been so much time that those guys in preseason games that they play together, but those guys have a lot of games together under their belt over last season. So it wasn't sharp. I think, Rick said, there is time to get right. Certainly they're going to, probably be practicing. They took today off. And Rick Carlisle was down in Charlottesville for Tony Bennett's retirement press conference, but they'll get rolling again, I'm sure, tomorrow and just really try to, put the pedal down over the next few days to get ready. But if you see similar malaise on Wednesday, you'll have reason to be concerned because, they can't afford to have that starting Friday against the Knicks.
Dustin DePurak of the Star covers the Pacers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. A Bud Light Blue Friday, 3rd level bar, back 9 near south side of downtown. It's a Bud Light Blue Friday. You can join us here to win Dolphins Colts tickets. Meantime, Dustin's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So I was at Pacer Media Day, which surprised basically everybody. And I was sitting in there and I was listening to everybody talk. And one thing Rick Carlisle said is, we can't get drunk on the success of a year ago, because that's over. And I'm not suggesting this is the case at all, because I think it should be far from it, because the lack of respect card really across the NBA national landscape, it has been given, because they're picked, in basically the bottom half of any postseason playoff scenario. So, sitting around and getting drunk on your success should not at all be the case, considering they're still kind of counted out by a lot of folks that believe last year was more about injuries to other teams than it was about how good the Pacers were.
Yeah, that's the thing. Whenever they talk about it, they seem to be carrying that chip on their shoulder. And I guess you just haven't seen that feeling translate to basketball games yet. And so I think I don't know if I could diagnose the disconnect. I don't know if it's just because they haven't played those teams yet. And haven't seen that they didn't play anybody in the East in preseason that would have been looking down on them. I mean, they beat Cleveland, but the Cavs weren't playing their starters. Donovan Mitchell wasn't around. Mitchell, Garland, those guys were all out, and maybe that's just it. It's just been hard to take preseason games really seriously. Maybe that's a big driving force in it. It's that, trying to get your head right for games when you're not playing everybody, or they're not playing everybody, or you're not playing together in multiple games. That's maybe the best explanation I can get. I don't know if that's what it looks like. Obviously, we're not allowed in practice until they open the doors, which is usually at the end when they're shooting around. So we don't see a lot of what like scrimmaging looks like and defensive drills look like and all those kinds of things. So I can't say if it looks like that in the facility before they let us in the door. But obviously they just I think you won't really know until you start seeing the games that count. So the best explanation I can have is just that they still have a sense, and it's probably problematic of when games don't matter, and they don't necessarily dial it up when they know they don't count. But that is a problem. I mean, it's not great to put you in a position where you have to dial it up to 10. They've done it before. And again, that was a shortcoming of that team last year. But once you get into the playoffs, you don't have to worry about it anymore because you know you have to get up for every single game. But it does make you wonder, okay, like, are they still going to have the same issues when they're playing the Charlottes and the Detroits and stuff like that later in the year? And can they dial it up on this quick of a turnaround when you're talking about, again, you still need to find a gear by Wednesday, and you really need to find a gear by next Friday.
Hey, Dustin, you look at Ben Shepherd, who had the nice close, took him to overtime, obviously had a nice game last night, and Rick Carlisle talked a lot about him after that game, that final preseason game. Is he going to find himself kind of like T.J. McConnell did at the beginning of last season? And remember, that whole McConnell thing was when Rick Carlisle said, I cried when I had to tell him he was going to be out of the rotation. Then like 5 minutes later, he realized how essential he was, and he was back in the rotation. But is that going to be the situation to start for Shepherd? And then will Carlisle find out that at some point over the course of the season, his representation on the floor will be necessary?
Sort of. The difference is, and it's key, is that the difference between a point guard and a guy who's McConnell's size and a 6'6" wing is that there are going to be more opportunities to slot a guy like Shepherd in. There's more reason, more places for him to play, more reasons why he could have opportunity. And I think that he'll get that across. And also, I think Rick Carlisle's trust of Ben Shepherd includes this. Like, I don't think there's anybody on the team that he would trust more to come off the bench cold. Like, and by that I mean, if he doesn't play the first half, there are some guys, and I think McConnell was on this list last year. Partially, I just think because TJ's 30, and Ben Shepherd's 22 or 23, is that you could not have him play a half, or you could not have him play 3 or 4 games in a row, and Carlisle wouldn't have a problem just throwing him in a situation and say, get in there and go. Where he was a little bit hesitant about doing that when Tyrese Halliburton was on his minutes restriction. In January, early February, it was like, okay, well, McConnell hadn't played until the fourth quarter, and when he had Nembhard out there, really playing too many minutes at the edge of that after kind of Halliburton kind of hit his kind of minutes wall, he didn't feel comfortable putting McConnell in like the fourth quarter if he hadn't played any minutes. Shepard's not. I think he trusts Shepherd to do stuff like that. I certainly think that if they're in situations where, okay, I just don't like what's going on here, Ben Shepherd is always going to be an option. If Walker's not playing the way he wants him to, or Matherin's not playing the way he wants him to, he's not going to hesitate. So I don't think he's going to. I think there's a good chance Shepherd ends up being the 11th guy, but I don't think he requires a meeting. And so I think that's. That I think is a significant difference. That Ben Shepherd, McConnell being a smaller player and really just being a point guard, like, you can't make TJ a small forward. You can make Ben any position 1 to 3, and that versatility means that, like, again, the opportunities, even if he's technically not in the rotation, there'll just still be more opportunity for him to get in.
Is it fair to say you feel, maybe you in general, people feel better, more confident in Shepherd than they do Jarace Walker?
I think the best. It goes back to what Rick said last night, which was that you know what you're going to get from him, and so that's a double-edged sword. Is that you know exactly who Ben Shepherd is, you know what you're getting, what you're not getting. With Jarace Walker, there's the possibility that the ceiling is higher. Basically, like, Ben Shepherd has a much higher floor, but there's a less difference between his floor and his ceiling. Like Jarace Walker has a lower floor, but there's a much higher ceiling just on the basis of the size and the skill set. And I think, for as much as there's still sometimes when you look at there and say he's not totally, he's just a little off in terms of what he's doing. He's not making that rotation fast enough, or he's defending too much with his hands here, or he's not being physical enough on a block out, or he's not being aggressive enough on defense. Man, that skill set is really there, and he's trimmed up. He looks great physically. He's shooting the ball. It really is dramatic how much better of a shooter he is than he was last year. That's part of the reason why you can trust him at the 3. I think even John Hollinger wrote kind of his for the Athletics, like the Eastern Conference rankings, and in there includes like, well, Jarace can't really shoot, but Jarace can shoot. He was 40% for the G League last year and 40% for the Pacers, and he shot it better in preseason. So he's made a lot of strides, and it's just, I mean, there is, you feel like if you can unlock all that, and you know how well he can pass and how well he can handle, there's a lot there. But you know that you will get a really good version of Ben Shepherd every time. You don't know that you're going to get a really good version of Jarris Walker yet every time. So, like, there's back and forth with that. And again, part of that is it allows you to have Shepherd behind him and almost use him as kind of a security for security. So I would say, you know, so that's kind of it. Like, do you trust that you're always going to get the best Ben Shepherd? Yes, but you also know, okay, like there is a limit as to how good that's going to be, and you don't know where the outer edge is for Jarris Walker yet.
All right, Dustin DePurak of the Star covers the Pacers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What about James Wiseman and potentially taking minutes away or the minutes of Isaiah Jackson? Where is that right now? And let's just say there is a significant gap between the two for Jackson. Could you see that easily being closed?
Yeah, I think that's gonna. I think there's a good chance that's gonna be matchup based. I mean, this is just my read, obviously. So this is very tea league.
Okay.
I mean, to go back to your point, we're trying to translate Rick here, right? Like that's what we're all trying to do.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and we don't have time nor the inclination enough to try to do that. So yes.
Yeah, exactly. We do it in turn. Like you and I could spend here all day deciding what, but like knowing what he says, it definitely seems like Jackson's ahead, and obviously Jackson has the virtue of being. Having been there for 3 years and, earned a lot from it just in terms of being willing to do what he's done, fighting through, competition every year, basically, expanding his game, really, and listening to what he was asked. I mean, basically, for a lot of the last 3 years, he's basically been told, like, okay, like, find what your niche is and focus on that. Don't think about, he for a while that he wasn't thinking about expanding his game. It was just go dunk lobs, go block shots, go rebound, play with energy, and it paid off with a rotation spot in the playoffs. And so it's like, okay, like you're seeing a much more confident version of him. He's doing what you're asking. And so he knows what he's supposed to do. He knows what his role is. He's executing it pretty well. And in the minutes he's had, even though he's been dealing with hamstring and groin stuff in this preseason, he's been pretty effective in those. And you see that a jump shot is materializing, basically. I mean, I think he was having a hard time making any progress with that, and it seems like he really, did some work on that with Jenny Busek in the offseason. And, at a kind of mid-range level, it looks pretty good. Wiseman, obviously, like, what does Wiseman have? It's size. I mean, I think you still look out there and, even certainly not having, their playbook in front of you of where exactly is James supposed to be on all these. You do look out and see, every once in a while you're like, he's not sure where he's supposed to be at here. He's twisted up in this rotation. He's not sure where to move. There's a little bit of uncertainty, especially on the defensive end of where he's supposed to be. And I think Carlisle kind of acknowledged that last night of he's figuring out the system. He's figuring out how to play as fast as they want to play, make his quick decisions. But man, does that size pop. I mean, like there's balls he gets his hands on, coming off the glass that you're like, okay, any normal sized human has no chance there. Even big guys have no chance there. I mean, James stands out as how large he is. And I think that from a basketball IQ standpoint, the other thing he's done really well is know where there's going to be an easy bucket, know where to get to for a drive and dish. I mean, even if he's not playing the most sophisticated offense overall, it's okay knowing when to dive, knowing when to be there for somebody to dump off and be able to dunk it, and use the size that he's got. So I think he's ultimately too productive not to get some minutes. Like just by virtue of having that kind of next level size, I think there should have to be opportunities, for him, and certainly matchups. I mean, there'll be situations when if they're playing a particularly big guy in somebody's second unit, he's the best option there. But I also look at it and say, okay, Jackson is a guy that's just been overall more effective. And when you're playing as fast as they want to play, he's still a really good fit. I mean, and he's also, even though Wiseman's bigger, Jackson statistically is a much better shot blocker. He's way better rim protector over, the time that each of them has been in the league. Even though Wiseman's taller, Jackson has a lot of leaping ability, and he's been able to pin a lot of shots in his day. And I think he's been at least I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I mean, Jackson's a really good per 36-minute rebounder in his career. So, he's done a lot of things that earn him some time. So I think it's ultimately going to be matchup based. I don't think you're going to see Wiseman sit by himself on the bench all year. There's going to be time for him to play. He's got to do a lot to beat Jackson out. Jackson has that edge of knowing what he's doing, and it's going to take a bit for Wiseman to close the knowledge gap there.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to take a minute for him to get used to getting up and down the floor at the rapid pace in which they want to go, if it's extended minutes for him as well. So I think that's going to be tough. Hey, before I let you go really quick, Dustin, roster-wise, who do you think is going to end up getting cut? Who's going to be a part of things? How are things going to fall out as we enter this weekend and head into the start of the regular season next week? For example, a guy like Cole Slider.
Well, I didn't expect this, but while we were on the phone, I heard from a source that Cole Slider is going to be waived today. And so that's how I put that on our Twitter while we've been talking. And we'll be writing up a story on that there. I'm a little bit surprised about that. I thought he kind of did what he needed to do. But they've also they do have the option of converting two ways if they wanted to. And Enrique Freeman has had a really good preseason. Obviously, he was fantastic last night. It's the reason they won that game at the end of the day. So I don't know if that puts him in the advantage position or what. But, or if they're just going to keep the spot open. Rick Carlisle mentioned, hey, we're going to just do whatever's best for the franchise. And that includes that could include leaving the spot open just in case somebody else gets waived that they like. Certainly everybody's making their own roster decisions, but somebody else in the league, they have the opportunity to go sign somebody. And obviously that forces them into a position where they have to make a choice late, or try to integrate somebody into, the system, a couple of days before, the season starts. But they have a lot of opportunities. They can go a bunch of different directions. We'll see which one they end up taking. Again, I'm a little bit surprised because I just thought the shooting would give him a chance, that it would make sense to have a guy like that. If you're he wouldn't be a rotation guy, but it's like, all right, well, like in the few minutes that anybody, past 11 or 12 is going to play, what do you want from them? It's like, okay, well, shooting would be a thing that you might need just, in certain situations. So I'm a little bit surprised he didn't make it. But we'll see where it goes from there, kind of what their next decision is. I think if it's one of the two-way guys, you'd have to presume that Freeman, I would think Freeman would be the advantage because I think he's played the best. But I don't know if that makes sense for him, frankly, because I think he needs, he could use the minutes, and I don't know the minutes that would come with, spending some time with the Mad Ants. And, I don't know where it's going to be there when you're going to have, Toppin and Siakam and at the 4 and Turner and Jackson and Wiseman at the 5. So we'll see. I'm more intrigued now because I figured it was just going to be standard and Swider was going to get that spot, but it's going to be different.
Yep, Cole Swider, as what Dustin just said, was or is in fact being waived by the Pacers. Dustin DePurak of the Star of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Man, I appreciate you, Dustin. Have a great weekend. And, hey, I know you're probably going to end up watching IU. You covered IU athletics for a while down there. Enjoy that game tomorrow.
I certainly will. I'll definitely be fascinated to see how tomorrow goes for them, for sure.
You got it, Dustin. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Dustin DePurak of the Star right there. Marcel Louis Jacques. Make sure I'm pronouncing that right before we have him on, James. He's from ESPN, covers the Dolphins. He's coming up next on a Bud Light Blue Friday. We've got Dolphins Colts tickets to give away. Third level bar location, back 9. Drover and Morris. Our friends from Zinc are here. You better get here as well on a Bud Light Blue Friday with tickets to give away. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Talk about your Psalms. Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Third level, back 9, near Southside downtown, Morrison Rover on a Bud Light Blue Friday. We got Dolphins and Colts tickets to give away. We've got Simple Minds as a re-entry tomorrow night. It is nationwide, the only live all requests retro radio show anywhere left on the stinking planet. And my ass does it. Can you believe it? And it's just like it used to be. Me and a couple, 3 decks, and you with requests, and we roll through for 6 hours, whatever you want to do. We call it the JMV Takeover. Hashtag JMV Takeover on X. You got 681-1057. That's the hotline number for you tomorrow night, the JMV Takeover on B105.7. Remember, about a month away from the Christmas music hiatus. That means when B105.7 goes strictly Christmas music for the holiday season, I sure as hell don't want to play that, so I vacate the premises for about a month. And then I come back on New Year's Eve when it gets real again. So we're about a month away from the Christmas music hiatus, but tomorrow night, B105.7, all requests Saturday night, JMV Takeover begins at 6 o'clock. Again, hashtag JMV Takeover on X as well. Daryl Moose Johnston of Fox got the call, along with the call of Kevin Kugler, coming up on Sunday here at Lucas Oil Stadium. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, Nebraska and IU tomorrow down in Bloomington. They're still to come here in the 5 o'clock hour, but on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right now, Marcel Louis Jacques covers the Dolphins for ESPN, ESPN.com. And he is with us now. Marcel, thank you for the time this afternoon. How are you?
Of course, man. I am great. Feeling rejuvenated, refreshed after that Week 6 bye. Never thought I would enjoy such an early bye week. But after the events of the first 5 weeks of the year, I think everybody down here could use that break.
Aren't you, perpetually rejuvenated if you live in South Florida? Right? I mean, I'm the one that needs rejuvenated. I think I'm the one that needs a little bit of rejuvenation right here, I think. Yes.
Hey, if you go through the list of what this beat has gone through over the first month of the season, I think you would take a week off as well.
If this continues to go in the direction in which it has gone so far, and obviously it's been full-scale disappointment with Tua, who's going to be accountable, or in our terms, Marcel, who's going to end up wearing this and wearing it the wrong way at the end of the year?
It's probably going to be the general manager, Chris Greer. He's been not necessarily in his position throughout this entire time, but he's been with the organization since around the year 2000. So we're going on a quarter century here. Been the GM since 2016. This is his roster. At some point, when a rebuild doesn't work, the guy at the top has to fall on the sword. It's not going to be Tua. He just signed an extension. It's not going to be Mike McDaniel, who also.
Well, hey, Marcel, I'll let you finish here, unless you're the general manager here in Indy, and then you can just go hell on forever, right? Then you just keep going forever.
I can't speak on that. I don't know nothing about that. But down here, hey, Chris Greer, he deserves a lot of credit for how he has been able to essentially extend his career, extend his longevity with the team for, like I said, a quarter century. That's a long time, man. I was starting second grade when he first started with the Dolphins as an area scout. So he deserves credit for that. And for the most part, he's been aggressive. He has made moves that have made Miami more or less an instant contender. The trades up for Tyreek Hill, for Bradley Chubb, signing Teron Armstead. He's made these splashy moves. But at the same time, the depth of this team has kind of been exposed throughout injuries over the first month. You did attach $212 million to a quarterback who is once again in concussion protocol, and that's going to draw some criticism. Whether people think it's a fluke or not, it's going to draw some criticism, and ultimately fans are going to demand change in some regard. You're risking a revolt if the season kind of goes by the wayside and nothing at all changes next season with limited funds and an aging roster. So if anybody is going to, I think it would unfortunately have to be Chris Grier.
It's Marcel Louis Jacques covers the Dolphins for ESPN and ESPN.com, joining us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Yeah, so obviously the issues with Tua concussion situation. Tyler Huntley's been the starting quarterback, and we know this hasn't been great. However, you're getting Devon Achane back evidently this weekend. The skill position players, certainly with just a high elite level of performance, they're there. And then you couple in this Colts defense. They were giving up 419 per game in total yardage up until last week, and then cut that in half against Tennessee. However, that's Tennessee, and offensively they are in stink mode right now. So could the Dolphins raise the bar against this Colts defense just because, even with Tyler Huntley under center, they're playing this Colts defense Sunday?
Yeah, that's going to be one of the critical points of the game on Sunday is, can Miami exploit a vulnerable run defense? We saw not last week, but their last game in Week 5, ran for 193 yards without Devon Achane against the Patriots. Thanks to 80-plus yard efforts by Raheem Mostert and Jalen Wright. Now, I'm not saying they're going to have three guys rush for 80 yards. This isn't mid-2000s Virginia Tech or anything. This isn't Navy and Army. But I think you can get reasonable contributions from three different players. And if you are picking up chunk gains on the run like that, and if you're able to establish the run, then obviously that's going to open up the passing game. That's going to clear up passing lanes. They spent the bye week kind of trying to develop packages for some of their skill players who maybe haven't made as big of an impact as they would like throughout the first 5 games. Guys like specifically tight end Jonnu Smith. I think it was 8 targets from Tyler Huntley, and that went over the Patriots. He's starting to get further integrated into this offense. And then Tyler Huntley as well, like being able to be in the classroom and be in the film room and really kind of get a grasp of a complex scheme without the pressure of having to go out and play on Sunday. The bye week, by all accounts, everybody we've spoken with, was huge for him and building chemistry. What he really needs to work on, though, is trusting the speed of his receivers, guys like Waddle and Hill, trusting their speed and being comfortable, kind of putting that ball out there for them, because these guys, this is the most expensive wide receiver room in the NFL. And right now, I think they've got a combined like 500 receiving yards, a little over 500 receiving yards and 1 touchdown between them. That's not going to cut it. So you have to find ways, manufactured or otherwise, to get these guys the ball. And that starts with the quarterback being comfortable getting them the ball.
Hey, do we give credit somewhere along the line here to whomever is able to keep this skill position group not from losing their mind and going crazy over this stretch right now? I mean, does somebody deserve a little bit of credit for that down in South Florida? I mean, on the outside looking in, maybe so or not.
I mean, yeah, SunTrust Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whoever they're using where they're casting these checks has to credit these guys not going over the edge, man.
Sometimes that doesn't matter, though, man,
I mean, they've signed about $180 million worth of contracts between the top 2 guys. So, if all else fails, you are cashing a pretty fat check while you're only catching 5 passes in a game, 4 or 5 passes in a game. So,
sure.
I think, no, in all reality, it's a credit to just the professionalism of both Hill and Waddle. Like, they're not making it. I'm in the locker room, they're not pouting and sulking and angry with Tyler. They're complimentary of him. They interact with them. I think they understand what the situation is, and, that Huntley is put in kind of an impossible situation where, like, you're coming off of somebody else's practice squad and asked to run, a tough and complicated offense with skill players who, it's hard to get them the ball. As crazy as that sounds, like they're so fast and these routes are coming so fast that it is hard to build that chemistry on the fly and know, okay, this is how far I can lead him. This is how far I need to lead him. When he breaks, this is how quickly he gets in and out of his breaks, and this is where I need to put the ball. Like, it's not as easy as, that's Tyreek Hill, I'm just going to throw it at him. Like, no, he is. It is tough to get him the ball. It's after he gets the ball in his hands when he makes things look easy.
All right, before I cut you loose here, I'm kind of curious about this. Your thoughts from the outside looking in, and I mean, hell, you've been staked out in South Florida, so you may have a little bit more intel than most might, again, from that outside looking in on Anthony Richardson. What do you think? And I guess maybe even more importantly, what do the Dolphins think about the matchup? Because he is in line to start coming up on Sunday here at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, we heard it from McDaniel on Wednesday. Big, fast, and a strong arm. Like, that's a guy. Everybody, I've talked to a couple players about that throw in week one, that like 70-yard touched heaven throw to Alec Pierce. And, speaking with Javon Holland, who is actually doubtful to play on Sunday with that broken hand, but he said, you just have to remind yourself as a defensive back, like, just because he's scrambling or just because, a receiver is X far from the line of scrimmage, you can't give up on the play. Like, you can't just assume he's not going to throw that, because he can both throw it and hit it from anywhere on the field. So it just makes you have to keep your eyes open and keep your head on a swivel whenever you're playing against a guy like that. But I think they're ready to play him. I think Steichen maybe did them a favor by saying Anthony Richardson is probably going to play early on in the week. No gamesmanship over there. I think they very much appreciate that, and we will have to see, how ready they actually are for him come Sunday.
Yeah, man, looking for the gamesmanship and you didn't get it. Hey, would you happen to know who they'd rather face, Richardson or Flacco? Just for S's and G's around here before I let you go.
Oh man, you can't quote me on that. They do. If they have a preference, they definitely did not tell me. I don't think I think maybe you would prefer to play a guy like Flacco just because Richardson's mobility and size. Like, it's just one more element you have to worry about. And Flacco's run that offense pretty well since he's gotten there. But at the end of the day, like, you kind of know what you're getting whenever he drops back in the pocket. When AR drops back, is he going to throw? Is he going to run? And damn it, if he runs, am I going to have to make a business decision when I bring him down? It's just another element that you have to worry about whenever he's in the game.
Marcel Louis-Jacques, who covers the Dolphins for ESPN and ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Man, safe travels up here. We'll look for you on Sunday in the press box. Good conversation, man. I appreciate you very much for coming on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
You got it. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right there. Just kind of wonder, don't you? Yeah, I was wondering about the lack of gamesmanship right there, the early week gamesmanship. Marcel Louis-Jacques of ESPN and ESPN.com. Don Fisher, Daryl Moose Johnston of Fox got the game call on with Kevin Kugler on Sunday, both of which appear right here on this show in the 5 o'clock hour. Third level, bar area, back nine, Bud Light Blue Friday, Dolphins Colts tickets to give away. Why the hell are you not here? I don't want to hear about I-70 being all log jammed up right now. And I see it is log jammed up going eastbound and down right now, but hell, hit the surface streets. Haul ass, get here, hang out here until 7 o'clock with Colts Happy Hour coming up too. If you're just listening, sit tight. Back with you on the other side. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Sir, there's been a little problem in the cockpit.
The cockpit? What is it?
It's the little room in the front of the plane where the pilots sit. That's not important right now.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
James brings us back with Hall & Oates with a JMV takeover. All 80s weekend tomorrow night on B1057. Post hitter extraordinaire. What we got coming up later on tonight? We got the Dodgers. Are they looking to advance? How many times have the Dodgers been in the World Series? 22 times, is that correct? That's a lot. Yeah, Dodgers and Mets coming up later on tonight. The Dodgers with an opportunity. Yeah, that has been really a boring series, has it not? I love this last night. You get the Guardians and the Yankees, game number 2. Check that, I'm sorry. Game number 3 last night, game number 4 coming up. The moment where Noel went yard, both inside that stadium and outside that stadium, I cannot be alone in explaining how awesome that was. Inside the stadium with all the different calls, with the Brian Hamilton call, I believe, being one. And then you had the call of Tom Hamilton. I get Brian Hamilton right. I get the guy's name right? Brian Anderson. I'm sorry. Brian Anderson is the guy that had the call. Then Tom Hamilton is the voice of the Guardians. But, man, was that awesome last night. Both home runs. Noel and then Fry be the capper. Dodgers-Mets, 5:08. So, Mets trying to stay alive, down 3-1 right now in game number 5. And the Dodgers up. Flaherty v. Peterson, the mound matchup. Again, 5:08 today. That's underway at Citi Field, so hell, we'll be able to watch a little bit of that. All righty, Max, good to see you, buddy. Yankees, Guardians, 8:08 tonight, and Guardians trying to even that best-of-7 ALCS up at a game apiece. But, man, some drama, which was absolutely fantastic to check out last night, especially in Cleveland, if you're watching that. Fantastic it was. All right, 5 o'clock hour. Speaking of fantastic, a couple different things we got on tap for you. Obviously, this is a huge college football weekend. And actually, the college football weekend gets started tonight. That's 8 o'clock. That is a Fox matchup. Number 2, Oregon and Purdue up at Mackey Arena. Or check that, Ross-Ade Stadium. Sorry about that. Matt Painter's guys not playing. Although I think Purdue fans probably would wish Matt Pander's guys were playing, in this case, Oregon. Second-ranked Oregon and Purdue at Ross-Ade tonight. That's at 8 o'clock. And then coming up tomorrow, you got IU and Nebraska. 11 a.m. coverage begins right here on The Fan. Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, who is going to be on the call once again tomorrow. We got Don coming up here at the top of the hour. Daryl Johnston of Fox, Daryl Moose Johnston of Fox, bottom of the 5 o'clock hour. He and Kevin Kugler have the call for you, Lucas Oil Stadium. The Dolphins and the Colts coming up on Sunday. The latest, no Jonathan Taylor coming up on Sunday. Anthony Richardson is going to start. All that we have covered, the ground so far, and more to come. IU fans, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, set to join us next on a Bud Light Blue Friday. Third level, back 9. Morris and Drover. Dolphins Colts tickets to give away with Bud Light on this Blue Friday. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Jenny, don't! David Letterman! Hi, David. I'm Grandpa. Don't!
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Third level, back 9. Inside the bar on a Bud Light Blue Friday. Thank you for joining us. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. You can stare at me right now. You guys, Dolphins, Colts tickets to give away to Devs, the on-site engineer. James back at the studio. Colts happy hour because, yes, I get to hang around for that as well, is coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. Daryl Moose Johnston of Fox coming up here at 5:30. Hey, still time to haul it over here and hang out with us and get your chance at winning some tickets coming up on Sunday. And still time for you to log on and get your Bullseye Event Center passes for the bullseyeeventgroup.com Colts VIP tailgate coming up on Sunday. I may give away some more passes, so hang tight for that as well. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, this is my assumption, and often I do assume before I bring the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, onto the show, that this is such a big game, such an incredible atmosphere that he's going to want to soak up the entirety of the weekend. You can catch him, I think, camped out in a tent across from Memorial Stadium, across 17th Street in the Woods area right there. Don Fisher joins us now. What kind of tent are you using tonight?
Yeah. I stopped camping about 50 years ago.
Don, you know what? I've never been camping. I'm the biggest hillbilly in the world, and I've never camped out in my life.
Well, I've camped out a few times, but not recently, as I just stated.
Hey, the atmosphere is what I'm getting at right here. Honestly, I can't think. I guess you might be able to, maybe you can't, of a time to where there was so much going on before this game coming up tomorrow, man. Everybody is fired up, and rightly so.
Well, it is, John. We've not had this kind of an atmosphere for a football game. I'm not sure I remember the last time that we've had it like this. The question is, can Indiana come up with another big performance on Saturday? Because they've had 6 in a row so far. And I mean that not facetiously in any way, shape, or form, because they have played up to or beyond expectations in every game they've played this season. And this is a football team that is on a mission. There's no question about that. Kurt Cignetti in his first year has talked about winning, and that's the only thing that's really important, and there's no question about that. And so far, he's been able to execute, and the team has been able to do exactly what people were hoping would happen, and they've won all 6. It hasn't mattered who the opponent was or how tough or how non-tough that team was. Indiana has pretty much dominated each and every one. Now, they have never trailed in a ball game yet. However, there's always a first time, and how will they respond when that happens? I think that's the big question. I don't know if Nebraska is the type of team that can do that because their offense is suspect. I don't think the offense is as good as obviously Matt Rule would like at this point. They're using a freshman quarterback. They're averaging around 370 yards a ball game. Indiana's averaging around 510. So it kind of tells you that Indiana's offense is the key. But Nebraska's defense has been terrific. And to hold Kyle Monangai, the Rutgers running back, who was second in the Big Ten in rushing and has been a dominant factor for 2 years now, he was held to 72 yards by this bunch. And Nebraska's defense is stout, and they put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. They have one more I think they've got one more sack than Indiana does this year, and Indiana's got 19. They've got 20, and they've pressured almost every quarterback that they've played against. So the question is, can Indiana's offensive line hold up against them?
It's Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. 11 a.m., your coverage begins here on The Fan, leading up to Nebraska and IU from Bloomington. You mentioned this, and I thought this was on target. Being somebody that's taken a punch in the mouth many a times as being mouthy and growing up as a redneck in Greene County, I can attest to this. A punch in the mouth doesn't necessarily from Nebraska have to come from the offense. It can also come from, as you mentioned rightly so, their defense. And that's, I think, where this starts. You know, the type of response that IU is going to get when I think inevitably that punch in the mouth in some form or fashion will occur.
Well, and here's the thing, John. This is a ball club, and we're talking about Nebraska now, that has always prided itself on defensive play. I mean, they are kind of like the Iowa Hawkeyes in that regard. They're probably the second team in the league that prides themselves on just tough, physical, tough-hitting defenses. And Nebraska has been known for that. Now, they've struggled here in recent years. There's no question about it. But Matt Rule took over last year. They won a couple of those close ball games that they have been giving away for the last 5 or 6 seasons. And all of a sudden, they've got some confidence. They've got a belief that they're pretty good. And I don't think there's any doubt that this defense is special in that regard. And I think that they're going to try and confuse Curtis Work. I don't think they can confuse him because I think he is one of the smartest quarterbacks I've seen as far as reading defenses is concerned. And part of that's because Curt Cignetti and Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, and Tino Sunseri, the quarterback's coach, and obviously those 3 guys are really smart football coaches and put together a terrific game plan for Rourke to run. And right now, that's been the key for this football team. The response by the defense has been really good in every ball game so far this season, but the defense has been the one. It's where every now and then they look a little bit leaky, if you know what I'm saying. And it's not like they can't come back and play really well after they've been leaky, so to speak. But I think right now they're going to be key tomorrow because they can't allow Nebraska to get out there and get confident on the offensive side of the football, and I don't think they will.
Oh, 100% true with that, too. So I got in touch with the kegerator down there earlier this week, and I said, all right, Keg, give me somebody down there that's an awesome conversation. And he led me to Justice Ellison, the leading running back and rusher, 6 touchdowns, 6.5 yards per carry has been fantastic for them. And to me, he's the epitome of what this turnaround has been. Just says all the right things while also doing all the right things so far. And I guess if that is the teaching statement to start with, Curt Cignetti has given everybody, I can kind of understand why this team is, even beyond the play on the field, where they are at this point in the season or why everybody's so excited.
Well, and you're right. Justice Ellison, I love he's a great interview. Just a great kid.
Yes, he is.
He knows how he can articulate. You know, he doesn't get confused by anything you ask him, that kind of thing. Just a smart young man, but really a pleasant young man and a personality that anybody would love to take your daughter home to. He's one of those kids like that. And I will tell you this, the thing that impresses me most about this football team is what they have, how they have developed the culture under Curt Cignetti and his coaching staff and the players that came with them from JMU. That culture has permeated the entire team now. This team thinks the same way, game in and game out, goes into every ball game confident and believing. And we haven't seen that in Indiana in a long time. And, of course, our fan base has been put through the ringer in the essence of having expectations going into a certain ball game and then get all of a sudden they flat in their face. I'm talking about the team now. And they just don't perform or they don't live up to expectations. But every game this season, they've done that. Now, the question is, can they continue it? Because they're now in the second half of the year in which this is going to be the toughest part of their schedule, and it starts with this Nebraska team they face tomorrow.
No doubt about that. 11 a.m. your coverage begins with the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, too. You mentioned the defense, and I brought up Ellison for a reason, too, because Nebraska's D against the run has been so good this season, and he's a guy that has been so consistent, so counted on, and you know, that 6.5 yards per carry is what really jumps out on the page for me, for him. That's just somebody that they've been able to count on offensively to eat up a lot of productive yards so far this season. They've done a lot of things right, and it really can start with that on the ground.
Well, there's no doubt. And here's the other thing, and John, I know you've mentioned Ellison, and you should. But Tyson Lawton is another kid that performs really well, especially in the inside runs. He is a powerful young man. I think he's averaging right around 5 yards per carry, and a lot of his carries come inside the 20-yard line in the red zone area where the yardage is really tough to get sometimes, and he's averaging over 5 yards a carry in almost every situation like that. So And again, they get stopped every once in a while, but then they'll pick up 7 or 8 yards the next time. I mean, this is a really good offense that Indiana has right now. The offensive line probably isn't getting as much credit as they deserve because they're opening these holes for these guys. And of course, Kalen Black, who had a fumble in a ball game, he comes back the next ball game, and I think he came back with a purpose because he didn't want anybody to think that he was one of those guys that gave up the football very often, and I don't think he is. But they've got 3 guys right there, and then we haven't even talked about Elijah Green, and we don't talk about him very much because the last 2 or 3 games he hasn't seen much playing time, hardly at all. But when he was seeing playing time, he ran in for touchdowns each of the games that he played previously. So they've got some really good running backs, and John Miller, who's their running backs coach, we had on the show with Coach Signetti on Thursday night last night. And this guy really knows about his personnel, understands what they're about, and obviously does a great job of getting these guys ready to play each and every ball game. So the running attack is critical for this team as well. It helps keep, the other defenses honest, so to speak. But I think Curtis Rourke is going to feel some heat tomorrow because I think that's the one thing Nebraska is really priding themselves in, is being able to hurry the quarterback or sack the quarterback, and they've done it a lot this year.
Well, and the other thing, Don, we've seen from him is he's had a bad moment. It wasn't long-lasting, and that was the good part about it. Back-to-back bad moments, and what you do is you get past that, and you're still productive after that. So we've seen with all the good some bad moments, and we've seen the IU quarterback overcome that.
Yeah, and that's the whole team too, John. I mean, this ball club, and I said this to you a couple of weeks ago, they really play great complementary football. When the offense maybe makes a mistake or doesn't do exactly what people expect or what they expected them to do, the defense pops up there and bails them out. And they did that in the Maryland ball game. All 4 times that the ball was turned over, they didn't make a single point. They didn't make a single first down, and they lost 9 yards of offense. We're talking about the opposing team now after Indiana's 4 turnovers in that ball game. And they haven't had a turnover since, and they didn't turn it over prior to that ball game. So think about it. This is a football team that does all the little things, all the fundamental things, carry the football or not lose the football through fumbling, throwing interceptions, that kind of stuff. It's only happened in 1 ball game so far this year, and again, the defense bailed them out each time, and that's what I'm talking about when I say complementary football.
Yeah, he is the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, 11 in the morning on the Fans when the pregame begins, getting you set for Nebraska and IU in Bloomington tomorrow. Who's most impressed you, individually speaking, on the defensive side of the football for Curt Cignetti?
Aiden Fisher, without question. This guy is a footballer. I mean, you remember Micah McFadden, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. We watch him play still to this day. Yes.
Exactly. He's still playing with the Giants, and obviously this is a guy. Aiden Fisher is so much like Micah McFadden. It's eerie because that both of them were able to get to the football. They run all over the field to make a tackle, and Fisher is really a smart football player on top of that. So, and I'm not saying that Micah McFadden wasn't. He was too. They just seem to have a knack or an instinct to know where the football is going, and all of a sudden they're there to make the tackle or help on an assist or whatever the case may be. I think he is the critical piece to this defense. I don't think there's much doubt about that. But they've got other good pieces too. I think Liddell Carr and Kamari Kamara, Mikhail Kamara is another guy that you really have to count on defensively at the defensive end spot. I think they put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks too, and Indiana's done a great job of getting sacks this year. They've got, like I said before, they've got 19 on the season.
Yeah, you were mentioning having an assistant coach on with you on the radio show, and you've talked about this a number of times, how Curt Cignetti does compartmentalize his approach to the game, doing everything for everybody, and then his coaching staff playing off of that. Not a lot of coaches, from what I know and understand, do that, and it seems like this coaching staff has really responded to that.
Well, I think the one thing that I do know about this coaching staff, they respond to Curt Cignetti because they know what this guy's all about, and he doesn't hire people that don't buy in immediately. If they aren't the right kind of piece that he thinks need to fit that puzzle that he puts together every year, they won't be there or they won't get a job with him. And these guys have almost all of them have been around a long time now. I mean, Haynes, obviously the defensive coordinator, has been there about 9+ years. Mike Shanahan's been there for like 6 or 7. John Miller, who we just had on, the running backs coach, I think has been there for 4 now. And these guys don't leave because they know how good a coach Cignetti is. And that's one of the keys to his success, because he hires the right kind of people for the positions that they're going to hold, and then obviously holds them accountable just like he does the players. And these guys respect that.
So Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers. Before I let you go, I did want to ask you a basketball question. I'm not sure of this, and I was interested because last night when I was finishing things up, where I was with Larceny Bourbon, I recognized that St. John's and Rutgers were playing in their October game. Who's IU playing a similar capacity to that? Is that kind of secret, not so secret matchup exhibition type of game?
It is. It's a charity ball game against the Tennessee Volunteers.
When is that?
And obviously, that takes place a week from Sunday, I believe it is, on October 27th.
Now, are you doing that on the radio too?
We are. We've always done the
stud.
exhibition games. So we've always done the exhibition games. We'll do the Marion game as well. That's the second exhibition game, and this one I believe, John, that you can attend it because it's a charity game, so they're selling tickets for it. But it's at Tennessee.
Man. Yeah, and it goes without saying too. You and I have had a number of conversations about NIL and the transfer portal, and certainly more about the transfer portal. But you saw another casualty of this particular era of that with Tony Bennett earlier today deciding to retire, as he certainly did. A Hall of Fame coach, certainly, at Virginia. And I guess as these decisions become more common, it should surprise nobody during this era of basketball, or anything for that matter.
Yeah, well, that's right. Anything should not surprise you these days. But you're right. I mean, Tony Bennett is a great basketball coach. I know his dad, Dick. I knew him very well. I know he's still alive, and I haven't seen him for a long time, but Dick Bennett is a wonderful man. Tony Bennett is a chip off the old block in that regard, and one of those guys that you really respect, not just because he's a coach, but because of how he handles himself, and always one of the classiest people that you'd be around. And it's sad to see guys like that retire, because you know what? I think he's still got plenty of gas in the tank, so to speak. But I think, like so many other guys, the Villanova coach, I'm spacing his name up.
Jay Wright?
Yeah, Jay Wright. I think that's another guy that has retired because of the NIL scenario and all the things that are going on in college basketball right now. I think, and I'm not saying, look, I understand things change over time, and I'm an old school guy. But I do think that this new era with the NIL and the transfer portal, in many respects, is crushing a lot of college basketball. I just really believe that it's not happening in a good way at this point. We will see how it plays out, but it's all about money now. It's no longer about, kids developing or those kinds of things. The portal is opened up, and it gives you a chance to immediately find a player that's ready to play at the next level or at the level that he's coming from. And I don't like it. But there's not anything I can do about it, or any of us that are on the air can do about it. All we can do is tell you what we think, and I just don't think it's good for college athletics these days.
Yeah, and you're going to see more and more of that. Guys who have been there, done that, and probably have won something on the highest of levels, just don't want to have to jack with it anymore. And, is it from a different era? Absolutely. But you're going to see more and more that I think are more common to what we would call this era right now, doing the same damn thing.
Well, think about this. Almost every mid-major now recruits high school kids, and they get them to come to their school by telling them, look, you play here for a couple of years, we'll get you in the Big Ten, or we'll get you in the SEC, or we'll get you in the ACC. Yeah. That's how they recruit these kids now. I don't blame them. I mean, how else are you going to get a kid that is a mid-major type player at that level coming out of high school? And so many high school kids that are not getting an opportunity now to go to a bigger school because of the transfer portal. So How is that good? I just don't see it. And honestly, I understand it's about the money, and that's, I guess, where we all have to go. We all have to look right in the back pocket in the billfold, and that's where it all ends and begins these days. And that's important.
Yeah, luckily for me, I don't have anything in mind, so that's good. Good for me, I guess. Nothing in it.
Well, we're both in radio, so we both have nothing in the billfold.
Hey, buddy, where you going tonight? Any festivities happening?
We're headed down to Brown County to see Edgewood play football tonight, where my son coaches at Edgewood.
Well, give a shout out. My neighbor and really good friend, Jeff Watson, is officiating that game tonight.
Really?
Yes. Awesome guy. Very well known around Center Grove. And Jeff Watson is a part of that officiating crew there tonight. Then I think they're going to do a little – I'm watching the house for them a little bit across the road. So they're doing a little camp out over the weekend down at Brown County State Park. So – if there are nothing but good calls, pat on the back. If there are any bad calls, don't tell me about it.
Well, trust me, there's rare occasions when I actually say anything or boo anybody ever. I just never have done that. I just go and sit there and watch the game, and if somebody's sitting with me, my wife or my boys, I sit there and say what I think, but I don't say it loud enough for anybody else to hear.
He is our good friend, Jeff Watson. He's a good dude. Enjoy that at Brown County down there later on tonight. And we'll be listening tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. on The Fan. You guys start the pregame show. Don, thank you very much. Enjoy the game tomorrow.
We will, John. Thank you.
Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Again, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. right here on The Fan. Preparation for Nebraska and IU. NLCS in Queens. No score. Mets up at the plate facing Jack Flaherty right now. So we'll keep you updated on that. A whole lot more that is going on with the matchup. Dodgers and the Mets. A closeout opportunity for the Dodgers in that game. Again, underway in Queens. Quick break. We'll come back. Daryl Johnston of Fox going to join us coming up on the other side. A little more Dolphins Colts for you on a Bud Light Blue Friday with Dolphins Colts tickets to give away here at the Back 9 third level bar area. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Well, we're waiting.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Third level bar area. Back 9. You guys have been fantastic today. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate that more than you know. Daryl Johnston is going to join us at Fox coming up here in a couple of minutes. He and Kevin Kugler have you coming up on Sunday. So that's on Fox 59. Chris Hagan is not here today, so normally Chris Hagan could tell you when he could see it. But he is not here today, so he will not have you today. But should be fun. Should be fun. Daryl Moose Johnston coming up in a couple of minutes. Get the lowdown on the matchup of the Dolphins and the Colts coming at you as well. So we got that and what has been a busy show. Shout out to Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, for joining us a moment ago, too. If you missed any of that, you can easily find that 1075thefan.com with the podcast. Just a lot of stuff so far today. And we will continue moving on down the road with that. Colts Happy Hour coming up with you at the top of the hour. Hey, James, quickly here before Daryl calls in. Game of the week, Brownsburg and Hamilton Southeastern, correct? Coming up at 7 tonight here?
That is correct, and we will have Brendan King and Jim Leisure on the call.
Brendan King and Jim Leisure on the call. Unbeaten Brownsburg and Hamilton Southeastern, your high school football game of the week, brought to you by Express Pro Tire and Auto. That is at 7 o'clock following Colts Happy Hour with me, by the way. I mentioned during that break, Pete Alonso with a 3-run home run. The Mets trying to stay alive in the NLCS against the Dodgers. And Jack Flaherty, the Dodger right-hander, seemingly has no answers so far in this matchup. It has been a bit of a struggle for him to this point. Kind of watching what's going on right here. Still out there. Alonso, a 3-run home run. 2 outs, bottom of the first inning, and the Mets with runners on first and second, and again trying to stay alive in this NLCS against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers up handily right now, 3-1 in that best of 7. Guardians and Yankees in the ALCS coming at you in what was a thrilling Game 3. Come from behind for the Guardians against the Yankees in Cleveland. Game number 4 is coming up later on tonight for you as well. Again, last night was fun. Had a game-tying home run, and then you had a game-winning home run. Noel and Fry, the hitters for the Guardians last night, and the calls absolutely across the board, absolutely fantastic in that win. The game tire and then the game winner for the Guardians last night. Fantastic for you. You got game number 4 coming at you later on tonight. I mentioned with Don Fisher, Nebraska and IU. That's tomorrow morning right here on the Fan, beginning at 11 a.m. Your coverage begins. I can't remember a time in a long time, somebody that is more of an IU football fan, historian. And I mean, sure, I can go back to where, the excitement level of the Mallory era was huge, or, go back even in some of those moments in the early 90s when things were pretty huge as well. But I can't remember a time in recent history. And, I know to start the season out a couple of years ago, it was sold out. It was full of Buckeye fans when Ohio State came to town and took on IU. I did my show down there, I think at like an old Scotty's location on Walnut back then. This is just a hell of a lot different because you've got a team that's 6-0. And has looked so good so far. And when people like to bring up, Bob Kravitz brought this up on the show yesterday when he was out with us at the Ale Emporium, had mentioned, well, IU 6-0 and really haven't played anybody good yet. And I maintain this, and I said this to him at the time. I said, you know what, you may not have played that tough of a schedule, but what you've done is that you've handled it in the fashion in which a really good team would, if that makes sense. It's not like you've just kind of slid by because there is a discrepancy, between the talent levels of two teams here. I mean, you've kind of announced your presence with authority in those games. So to me, I think that's much different than what we've looked at. And I think that opportunity is something they have before them tomorrow against Nebraska as well. The Cornhuskers, a one-loss team. IU is 6-0. And then you start, if people want to get into significant tests or believe that to be the case, now is the starting point for this IU football team and Kurt Cignetti, when those, if you want to call it that, the big-time tests begin. But I've just been impressed with the way that they've handled it to this point. And that is just doing the business in which that they have done to this point. And that's winning by a margin that is consistent of a good team against a team in a fashion in which they should handle it. So that's been my thoughts all along. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, talked about that and then some a little bit earlier. Podcast 1075, thefan.com. In case you missed the news regarding the Colts today, Anthony Richardson will start coming up on Sunday. Meantime, Jonathan Taylor will be down. Now, if you look at the injury report, a variety of guys are listed as question marks for Sunday against Miami. But if you also listen to Shane Steichen a little bit earlier today, go through the variety of guys that are listed as questionable for Sunday. And I'm talking important guys from Michael Pittman Jr. to Alec Pierce. If you were to hear Shane Steichen earlier today, he did not sound as if he was that concerned about it. So you take that in the measures in which you will. But he did not sound as concerned about that as likely a guy that thought or feels maybe you're going to be missing those players. Again, coming up on Sunday, the Ride to Kickoff begins at 9 a.m. for the Bullseye Event Center with bullseyeeventgroup.com. That is an hour before the doors open. You have another home date with the Dolphins in town. And the Bullseye Event Center will have all you can eat, all you can drink, and all that fun for you coming up on Sunday morning. Again, I'll start with you at 9 a.m., and I'll bridge the gap between that and then me and Touchdown Town with the Gorman Joe Wrights, Bill Brooks, and Casey Valier coming up on Sunday, 10 a.m. until noon. That is the Colts pregame huddle, getting you set for week number 7 of the NFL featuring the Dolphins and the Colts. And it looks like in terms of the Dolphins, they have a question mark that is, I think, worthy of watching as we move forward on the weekend. I did not get to that a little bit earlier, but Austin Jackson on the right side of the offensive line, their right tackle, was the guy that's been a little bit dinged up. Devon Achane is the guy that has not been participating, but is apparently cleared and good to go. That adds to the equation of these skill position players that they have that are really good, elite-level skill position players, but their issue has been obviously without Tua. Their issue has been under center, and Tyler Huntley gets the start. I mentioned this a little bit earlier as well, that guys like Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or even Odell Beckham Jr. being a part of this, still kind of waiting on things production-wise to take shape. Because simply put, without Tua, that game hasn't been there. And the question you have to ask is it possibly going to be there considering now you get the Colts secondary, which I know you feel good about the Colts defensive effort last weekend with what they did in Tennessee. 419 per game they were giving up in total yards. They basically cut that in half against the Titans. But the Titans, a much different situation. And honestly, if you were to compare Will Levis and Tyler Huntley, most of the time you'd probably feel much better about what you're going to get or what you could get out of Huntley than what you could get out of Levis. So I don't know if you completely rule out these elite level guys, because really, in terms of space, all you got to do is get especially Hill or Waddle, and especially Hill, into that particular space with any sort of pass, and you kind of wonder what could happen with that Colts secondary. So I don't know if that was a quick fix against Tennessee or more about it being Tennessee on Sunday, but you're going to find out a lot more about this Colts secondary coming up this Sunday against the Dolphins, because even with a backup quarterback and somebody that has struggled to get this offense in gear to the level that was the expectation, it is going to be difficult if any of this group, because they have some elite level skill position players, if any of those guys get started. Again, 9 a.m. with me coming up on Sunday morning, the ride to kick off in the Bullseye Event Center, and then touchdown town for the Colts pregame huddle. All right, regarding the Pacers, starts for real, regular season next week. Pacers and their final preseason game last night. We went over that and then some with Dustin DePurak a little bit earlier, if you missed that conversation about some of the matchups. And remember, it was this time a year ago where Rick Carlisle talked about T.J. McConnell in terms of being sad because he was not going to be a part of the rotation. And then as quickly as that came out of his mouth, they realized how essential he was to the rotation. And now the T.J. McConnell that you know, and we kind of brought up the fact, is Ben Shepherd going to be maybe that guy to start the season this year out of the rotation that they're going to find out that they need? Is it going to be something that we find out as far as James Wiseman is concerned? That's why I asked the question regarding James Wiseman, Isaiah Jackson, the gap between the two right now. So that remains to be seen. But the Pacers, with a lengthy level of expectation, start coming up next week on the road in Detroit. And we're going to have it for you right here. But Dustin DePurak a little bit earlier, the podcast, 1075thefan.com. All right, quick break. We'll come back. We have the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day coming up right now. 50-50 in betting and dining, courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. That is in Anderson. Here it is, your Friday edition, the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day.
goes on, yeah, and the beat goes on. 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Tracy Sprinkle. The winning horse was Teletubby? The winning horse, yeah, I like that. Teletubby. $5 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta payout was $25. $38.55. That's the 50-cent trifecta. Hey, a shout out to Rick Moore and our friends up at Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. We do this Tuesday through Friday, your Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day, and Tracy Sprinkle gets $50 in betting, $50 in dining, courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. That is absolutely outstanding. And I did see this, Skivs, thank you very much, and I should mention it, that Bally Sports is no longer known as Bally Sports, or will no longer be known as Bally Sports. What the hell's today's date? I think it officially changes on the 21st. Today's the 18th, so next week. Does anybody know what Bally Sports now will be called? James, do you know what Bally Sports now will be called?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
You don't? You paying attention back there, buddy boy? What are we doing? What's going on?
I'm just trying to run the show.
You've had a lot to deal with today. Bally will be known as FanDuel Sports Network. And that happens coming up on the 21st. Now, this was something I think we all knew that was going to happen. And what this is basically is a change in the naming rights from Bally to FanDuel. So automatically, those of you that are incredibly pissy about how you get Pacer games or don't, or continuously griping about it, because believe me, I know there are a lot of you out there, the pissiness that you maintain will not change. The name will change from Bally to FanDuel, but the pissiness, like when I say, hey, joining us now on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, Jeremiah Johnson, FanDuel Sports Network coverage of the Pacers, that will change, but the likelihood that you're either getting the games easier and without conflict and something that's not pissing you off, that will not change. Unless you're like me and you pay an absolute ridiculous amount every month to try to half-assedly write off on taxes for you, by the way, too, which clearly works for me and my tax payout. And then in the process, end up getting the Pacers via DirecTV. That's how I get it. And really, the Pacers and the Reds, and more so the Pacers than anything else, that is the only reason why I maintain DirecTV, is because it makes it easy. Because I know it's going to be there. That's it. And I know that there are other ways, and you guys have told me you guys are resources like hell to tell me exactly where I need to be and how much I would be paying and how much I would save someplace else. But I am very routine-oriented. In fact, somewhat Rain Man-ish, many would tell you. And I stay with the routine. I literally, as I say, and this is accurate, watch about 5 different channels of the seemingly millions I have. And one of them is like Barbecue Pitmasters on Destination on Saturday morning. Watch Barbecue Pitmasters. That's it. But I do that, so I just want to make sure I get the Pacer games. So the naming rights are going to change. FanDuel Sports Network from Bally coming up on the 21st. The situation with what you guys are putting up with will not change. Hey, fantastic show today. Update, Mets 3, Dodgers 1. Right there, game number 5. With the Dodgers up 3-1 in that best-of-7 NLCS. Jack Flaherty still in there. Pete Alonso, a 3-run shot in that game in the first inning. Jack Flaherty just took a little bit of a spill right there on the mound upon delivery. Bottom of the second inning, Dodgers trail 3-1. Yankees Guardians coming up in their game 4 of the ALCS later on tonight. Back 9 fun continues on a Bud Light Blue Friday. Dolphins Colts tickets were given away third floor. We're in the bar area, so still time to join us and a Colts happy hour on deck. That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere because I sure as hell won't. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hang with me.